Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another live this morning. Had to come outside. It's such a beautiful morning, so I'll wait for a few people to come on before we get started. Question and answers Friday. Here we go. I got your questions. I don't know how many of you yesterday, we had a big crowd on with us when we did our question and answer live yesterday. That was with Tony Jr. and Brandy. We really enjoyed that, okay? And some good questions come up. I might actually touch on a few of them for those who couldn't come on with us, okay? So good to have you on this morning. Hopefully everything is good, sound is good, everything's good. Okay, here we go. Let me just bring out a couple of things before I go to the questions, okay? Just because I promised I'd mention these studies. Like I've been saying all week, I don't know if it was National Study Week, but a lot of studies had come out on health this week, at least interesting studies to me. And I just wanted to bring them out so I wouldn't forget them for you. And this one here came out this week. It says in the last 60 years, breast milk has changed. Even mama's breast milk has changed, and it increased 15% in omega-6. Okay? That's significant when you think about it, okay? Now, is there anything better than breast milk? No, of course not. You cannot improve on nature. You just can't. Breast milk is the best. It's the best, okay? So all I'm saying is this is the study. There's a more omega-6 than 3. Now, let me just explain that so that you get it. Omega-6 is not bad, okay? Omega-6 is not bad. Omega-6 fatty acids come from the plant kingdom. Okay, so when you have seeds, or like hemp seeds or nuts or whatever, there's an oil in there. It's a fat. It's an omega-6. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, I love my peanut butter. That's got omega-6. Okay, omega-3 is from generally the animal kingdom. Okay, you got DHA and EPA, and they're long chain fatty acids, okay? They're more bioavailable than omega-6, but like I say, both are good. The problem in society is the relationship between omega-3 and omega-6, and that has changed big time. It is, look, you should be around 3 to 4 omega-6s to your omega-3s, okay? Your body operates in that area very, very well. The problem is when omega-6 is way up. Now, Tony Jr. mentioned the number yesterday that we're up around 22 to 1. 22 omega-6s to 1 ratio of omega-3s. That's a big issue, guys. That's what creates a response in the body, inflammation. It's omega-6 way up here to omega-3. How did that happen? It happened because, for several reasons, but the biggest reason is people started consuming much more vegetable oil than oils from the animal kingdom, like eggs, meat, and cheese, okay? Or fish. Everybody knows that fish oil is good for you, right? That's omega-3. That is DHA and EPA. And omega-6, like if you have flax seeds or hemp seeds, nuts, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? The problem is that ratio, and what they did, what the food industry did, is they changed that because they said to us, remember, you guys know this, don't eat too much eggs. Somebody asked me this morning, I'll answer the question about eggs. Don't have too many eggs because that contains fat, and fat is bad for you, and fat will elevate your cholesterol. It was never true. So what did we do as a society? We started eating much more vegetable oils. And the vegetable oils, like it sounds good, vegetable oils, like canola oil and safflower oil and cottonseed oil, and all those oils are, the problem is they're manufactured. They're not in nature. They're highly industrialized. I used to say you can run your car on those oils. They're synthetic. They're man-made. And they're cheap, so they put them in everything. You know, when you go to the grocery store, go in the middle aisles, okay? You're going to see vegetable oils, okay? And why do they do that? Because the vegetable oils make everything last a lot longer. If you get a box of crackers, for example, they'll last you, you can put them in the cupboard and they're not going to go bad. Vegetable oils preserve them and they last a lot longer. And you think, oh, vegetable oil, canola oil, or whatever, you see them in the grocery store. The problem is they elevate your omega-6 to your omega-3 ratio, and that is what creates inflammation in the body. And so much so that we're now in mama, it has changed their breast milk. When they analyze breast milk, it's got higher omega-6s than it used to 60 years ago. Babies still will do well on breast milk. But it might not be a bad idea for mommy to start taking some more omega-3. See, I take a lot of omega-3. I always tell people, look, I don't like fish I love fish in a capsule. I'm not a big fish eater, okay? I always tell people, why would I eat fish when I can have a steak? Now, that's my personal preference, okay? Fish is very, very good for you. Because I don't eat a lot of fish, I just had my fish this morning in capsules, okay? I'm a big guy, by the way, on DHA. You know that, okay? So there's two main things about omega-3. There's EPA and DHA, okay? EPA is wonderful. DHA is even better. You know why? Because your brain is made up of DHA oil. You're a fathead, or at least you should be. You don't want your brain to be skinny. You might want to be skinny and lose weight, but you don't want your brain to lose weight. You want your brain to be full of fat. And the best fat for your brain is DHA oil, not vegetable oil. Okay? Not those stinky oils. They're not good for you. And that has really changed, and it's created inflammation. Now, remember, inflammation is not a Houdini. It shows up for a reason, and one of the reasons is, the big reason, to me, the biggest reason is our diets. And isn't that an interesting study about the change even in breast milk today compared to what it was several years ago? I find that fascinating. Okay, I find it fascinating. So that's one study. Talked about omega-3 this morning. Oh, and by the way, somebody asked, let me just get the question because I might as well answer it now. Who was it asking? Oh, Frida asked this question. Good question. Why are eggs considered fat and not a protein? I don't know. I do know the answer to it, okay? It's nonsense. Frida, it's nonsense. Here's what happened. Think about it. It's the same reason that I was talking to you about people that, you know, the food industry. years ago, combined with the pharmaceutical industry, they did a marketing campaign, and boy, oh boy, they should be written up in textbooks on how to change people's thinking. You say a lie long enough and you'll change people's thinking, right? Like, just say it, say it, say it. Doesn't have to be true. It just has to, you just have to repeat, 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 repeat. And that's what the media does today, okay? They have a huge influence on us today because they repeat, repeat, repeat. It doesn't necessarily have to be true. You know, I'm not saying it isn't true, but all I'm saying is what the food, and it was really more the cereal companies who were telling you to quit eating eggs. So what did they classify eggs as? A fat. But eggs are a perfect food. Eggs are a perfect food. Why? They're almost a perfect balance between fat and protein. And no carbs. It's on the Dr. Martin's perfect list. If I didn't have vitamin E, okay? You know what vitamin E is at the Martin Clinic? Exercise. But it could be eggs. Okay? But eggs, meat, and cheese, you know me. You know me. Okay? But eggs are a perfect food because they are fat and protein. Perfect. So they got the bad label and considered more of fat than protein, even though that's not true. It's a perfectly balanced food, okay? And it all has to do with brainwashing. You know what I love about you guys? You're not going to be brainwashed. You're going to make your own minds up, okay? Because there's a lot of nonsense out there. There's a lot of nonsense out there, okay? So that was one study, okay? The balance between omega-6 and omega-3 has been changed drastically and not for the best. And that's why we're big on omega-3. I love steak. Do you know that steak has a lot of omega-3? It does. That's vitamin S, by the way. Steak. Eat your steak. Okay. And ladies, it's better than chicken. Chicken's good. Steak is better. Okay, got that. I know. Okay? Oh, here's another study that came out this week. I'll just mention it. The United Nations report on drug resistance, okay, and the World Health Organization, okay, says that the use of antibiotics to fight COVID will ultimately cause more deaths. So what they're saying is something that I've said to you many a time. Antibiotics are the greatest discovery of the 20th century. They're the greatest discovery in medicine, in my opinion, overall. You know, you look at insulin, you look at things that are great discoveries done by medicine. I don't think there's anything greater that medicine has ever done, the pharmaceutical companies, okay, that when they found and created, they didn't create them, but they found antibiotics. I'm a big guy on antibiotics because they save your life. So don't misquote me. I'll deny I ever knew you in a court of law. I won't. No, but seriously, guys, you know, because some people think, oh, Dr. Martin, he's against antibiotics. No, I'm not. If you need it, it'll save your life, for heaven's sakes. I'm just reporting to you the double-edged sword of antibiotics. Remember I talked to you yesterday, or did I do it yesterday? I can't remember what day it is anymore. I talked about inflammation. I think I talk about inflammation every day. But one of the things I said about inflammation, it's a good guy, bad guy thing, okay? Inflammation's a good guy because it's your body's ambulance system. If you have an injury or an infection, you ever had a cold and you feel terrible? That's inflammation that makes you feel terrible. But it's because the body's immune system and it's your ambulance system working. That's the good thing about inflammation. What's the bad thing about inflammation? If it stays too long. Now it's that same good inflammation turns bad because it just starts to destroy your blood vessels. It starts with your little capillaries. And this is why diabetics have so much trouble. Because diabetes and insulin over a period of time and sugar it creates inflammation, which destroys your blood vessels. Guys, I've been telling you this for a long time about heart disease. Heart disease is not cholesterol. It's an inflammatory response at the endothelial level. Your little blood vessels have a little Teflon lining. It starts to get damaged because the inflammation didn't leave. And what's the number one thing that causes inflammation? Insulin. We're carboholics. And just like smoking used to cause endothelial damage, it still does, to the blood vessels, now sugar does it, food does it, crappy carbs do, vegetable oils do it too. Okay, so all I'm saying is that inflammation is very dangerous. It's got a good side and a bad side. Here's antibiotics. They have a good side and they have a bad side. The good side is they can save your life. The bad side is they kill all your friendly bacteria. And it's a double-edged sword. This is why we see, in my opinion, I have never seen a case of autoimmune disease. I've never seen one case of it where they didn't have leaky gut. How do you get leaky gut? One of the major causes is antibiotics. Because people take antibiotics. Some people are on antibiotics almost all the time. I had a lady yesterday ask me about, I got a recurring urinary tract infection. So my doctor wants me to take antibiotics all the time. I said, well, don't do that. Like, I'm not against the antibiotic, but you don't want to be taking that forever. You're going to destroy your microbiome. And it's almost like the cure is worse than the disease. Like, you might get rid of the infection, but it's going to come right back. Because it's not bacterial. It's fungal. Anyways, I don't want to get... all I'm saying is the good, and so this study, the World Health Organization is saying it, and the United Nations has saying it, that we're overusing antibiotics even on COVID. COVID is a virus. And I know they talked about a malarial drug and the use of an antibiotic to treat it. Guys, I got issues with that. Look, if it'll save your life, do it. But you just don't want to do it. Oh, you know what? I'm just taking it for prevention. You don't take an antibiotic for prevention. I know dentists do that. I'm against that. Oh, you know what? I'm going to give you an antibiotic because I'm going to start playing with your teeth. Don't take it. Use a natural antibiotic, which will lead to a question. Somebody asked me, I can't remember who it is. They asked me about thyme. What does Dr. Martin think about thyme oil? Vicky, good question. I like thyme. You know what I like better? Oil of oregano. So listen, you got to understand something about me, okay? So when you understand this, I think you'll figure me out. You guys can ask me about anything you want, and I mean that, okay? Because somebody asked me about my formula of magnesium. Dr. Martin, why do you put elemental magnesium in your magnesium citrate? Well, first of all, everything I used in my magnesium is citrate. You know why I like citrate? It's been chelated. It's your body takes it in rapidly. And I'm not telling you all my secrets. But understand me, I tell this to a lot of people over the years, okay? I just tell you a lot of things over the years. Because every day I talk about, people ask me about products and they want to know, what do you think about this and what do you think about that? And I'm not negative. I don't say don't use it. Well, sometimes I do if I got real concerns about it. But most natural products, I got no problem with them. I don't. You like that? Take it. I got no problem. You want to take thyme oil? Here's why I do what I do. Because I've been in practice for 46 years. Okay? And I had to get results. You don't get a good reputation unless you get results. I mean, come on, think about it. Clinically, I had to get results. I tell people, I know you do research and good for you. You got a PhD after your name. Well, good for you. And you do research. Hey, I'm happy you're doing research. I'm reading your research. But you know what? At the end of the day, clinically, I better get results or I'm out of business. So when you see the Martin Clinic formula, okay, Tony Jr. is a biochemist. He's very, very smart kid, okay? He's like his mother. And you know what? He's more the formulator than I am. Okay, but I've been around a long time. And for me, like when you talk to me about thyme, I tell you, good for you, I like thyme, but I like oil of oregano better. There you go. You see? It's just because I like some stuff better. Somebody said what about magnesium glycinate? Don't you like that? I said, yeah, I like it. But I like citrate better. I found I can elevate a person's magnesium levels faster with citrate. You go online, you Google stuff, and you'll get all sorts of different answers. But I got to give you clinical answers because that's what worked for me and my patients. So I'm open. You ask me. I'll tell you. Somebody asked me about berberine. Doc, what do you think about berberine? I like it. I've seen the studies. Berberine is, from plants, and it's a powerful antioxidant and this and that. But if you know me, I have never found anything over the years that is more powerful as an antioxidant, as a polyphenol like berberine, than pine bark. You know me. I'm a pine bark guy. Why? Because clinically, I have never seen anything as good. So if you ask me about berberine, I'll tell you, yeah, I like it. I've seen the studies, but clinically, never seen it match Navital. Never. Navital is a pine bark extract. I've been writing, I have been talking, I have been preaching about pine bark extract for 35 years. I've written books about it. I've talked about it. I have recommended it to tens of thousands of patients over the years. And I like it. I've been on TV and radio all across North America over the years because I wrote a book, Pine Bark Extract, The Pine of Life. In French, I wrote a book that I think we sold 20 or 30,000 copies of it. Le Pain de Vie, Pine Bark Extract. That goes back. I mean, now you're talking 30 years ago. Yeah, more than that. So do I like it? I love it. So if that's all I want you to do, guys, is know where I'm coming from. So when you ask me questions about products that I don't use in the clinic, there's a reason for it. Because I found something for me better. Okay? And I always tell my patients, or anybody that asks me, if you find something you like, well, good for you. Okay? Good for you. Our formulas are our formulas. It's just the way it is. And clinically, this is, I got to get results. Okay, so that's that study, the overuse of antibiotics. We looked at that one. And, oh, by the way, I mentioned this yesterday on with Tony Jr. on our question and answers. I mentioned it yesterday because there was a study on vitamin D. So if you weren't on with us yesterday, let me just tell you about another little study. And it wasn't double blind. It wasn't. It was more of a clinical study. Okay, a clinical study done by a physician. And what he did with his patients, he took 102 patients for 1 year, and he gave them a small amount of vitamin D, all of them. So it wasn't placebo. It wasn't 102 got vitamin D and the other got placebo. He didn't do that. Okay, so it's not the gold standard of testing, but it's a clinical study, and he published it. And he just said, "Here's what I did. I took 102 of my patients, and he gave them 2,000 IUs of vitamin D. Now, that's a small amount of vitamin D, guys. It is. Like, I like higher doses than that, but that's all right. I'm just telling you what he said." And he published this study, and I read it, and he said, out of 102 patients that he followed for 1 year, one person got a cold. Out of 102, no, listen, only one got a cold or a flu out of 102. That's significant to me. I've been screaming this from the top of my lungs. You know me, I'm consistent. Vitamin D is in my alphabet. It is, I don't know if it's number one on the hit parade. Yeah, I think it is for me. This thing, the sun. There's nothing better for you than the sun. And when you can't get the sun, you need to take vitamin D. You know me, I've been consistent on that, haven't I? Aren't I consistent about vitamin D? So I never worry about vitamin D. Like, I worry only if you don't have enough. I read somebody's blood work yesterday. Holy moly. Their vitamin D levels were so extremely low. I said, man, oh man, you're in trouble. You got no vitamin D. And unfortunately, medicine hardly even looks at it. Mind you, this guy who did the study was an MD. And he did a little study amongst himself. I don't know who encouraged him. He didn't tell us. But he said, I'm going to give them, a minimal dose of vitamin D, just a minimal, 2,000 IUs. And out of 102 of his patients, one got the flu and one got a cold. Pretty good. And that has been my experience too with vitamin D. Most North Americans are low in vitamin D. They're scared skinny of the sun, number one, especially as we get older, but even children, you put sunscreen on a child, then he doesn't get any vitamin D. Oh, Dr. Martin, I'm scared of cancer. You should be more scared of cancer when you have low levels of vitamin D. There's another thing. I have never, maybe once, have I ever seen an exception to this? When you have low levels of vitamin D, it's not only for a cold or a flu. That's what that doctor said. But it's much more than that. Every cancer patient I've seen over the last 6 years are stinking low in vitamin D. They don't have enough levels of vitamin D. They avoided the sun, or even when they got sun, they didn't get enough. And if you live, what is it? The 48th parallel? I forget my geography now. What parallel is it? Like, we live up in the north. And you Floridians, I get so uptight with Floridians. I go down to Florida in the wintertime and, outside of our, I love the people at our condo. My neighbors, I love them. They don't go in the sun. They're scared of it. You get to my age, they're in the shade all the time. They get no sun. I mean, some of them do. Most of them don't. And they live in Florida. I want to shake them. I said, we Canadians, we spend a fortune coming down to Florida to get vitamin D, and you guys who have it 300 and something days a year, and you're scared of it. Because again, here's what happened. Let me tell you what happened. It happened in my lifetime. So let me explain it to you if you didn't know it. I call it the Johnson & Johnson disorder. The sun gives you skin cancer. The sun gives you skin cancer. The sun gives you skin cancer. Say it, say it, say it, repeat, repeat, repeat. What happens? The whole world, in my generation, it started with my generation, my parents a little bit, but my generation were the worst. Sunscreen became, as a matter of fact, even the weather reports changed. Oh, you know what your UV index is today? Put on the sunscreen, brought to you by Johnson & Johnson. They're not stupid, And they get everybody, including physicians. Now, listen to me, please. Don't come after me. Some of you might, but don't come after me. I didn't tell you to go burn in the sun. I'm not for burning. Okay? I was talking to you yesterday about melatonin. You can't even get melatonin levels up unless you get in the sun. But all I'm saying is, don't put on sunscreen before you go out. If you want to put sunscreen on, I don't like sunscreen, but if you want to put it on, you know what I do? You know what my sunscreen is? It's called the shade. It's called a hat. That's my sunscreen. I don't like chemicals on your skin. I learned something in chemistry when I was in high school. You know what I learned? Chemicals? Yeah, you can put them in a, you put them in a jar or whatever. I try to think. And then you add heat. I almost blew up the lab in high school a couple of times. As soon as you put that Bunsen burner to certain chemicals, you put chemicals on your skin, guys, and then you add the heat, you add the sun, not good. I think there's more skin cancer. This is my opinion. There's more skin cancer because of there's more skin cancer today than there used to be. By the way, melanoma, which is the more deadly of skin cancers, by and large, are people that work indoors. Farmers, I'm not saying they can't get it. I'm just telling you, farmers that are outside generally never get melanoma. They might get basal cell carcinoma, on their ear or whatever because they were exposed to the sun too much and it burnt. I don't want people to burn. The best sunscreen is the shade or cover up. Anyways, okay, I know I get controversial, guys, but I can't help myself. Okay, let me just make sure there is no other questions that I didn't answer this morning. I'll take a second here just to go over it. Oh, somebody asked about a dry cough and you get a cough at night. That's 99% of the time is postnasal drip. You have fungus in your sinuses. And when you go to bed at night, your body's smart. It's just trying to get rid of it, and it puts it down into your esophagus and your down to your trachea, and your body's trying to get rid of it, and you start coughing. And if you're always doing this, okay, that's often yeast. It's a fungus. It's candida in your sinuses, and you have leaky gut, leaky sinuses. Quit feeding the bears. Get off the sugars. Take a broad spectrum probiotic. I even like oil of oregano spray, but it's meant for the sinuses. Don't just put oil of oregano up your sinuses. You'll die. It's too strong. Okay? So good question, but that's usually what it is. Rita's saying she takes a high blood pressure meds, one that makes you go to the bathroom. That's a diuretic. Okay? And yep, it happens. Somebody was asking about dawn phenomenon. Do you know what that is? That's having elevated blood sugars in the morning. I'm not too concerned about it. It doesn't happen in everybody, but a lot of people, their blood sugars, diabetics, they can get this, what they call a dawn. Dawn meaning the start from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. or whatever. Yeah, their blood sugars are higher. Yeah, well, your body's waking up, and I think that has to do with your cortisol levels. It starts to elevate your blood sugars. It's always pretty normal, by the way, to have a little bit higher blood sugar levels in the morning because your body's just getting fired up. And it's elevating. And, I'll just tell you a pet peeve of mine. Just tell you what I can't handle when people are taking their blood sugar every 5 minutes. That's brought to you by the pharmaceutical company. Of course, they want you to take your blood sugar every 5 minutes. One, every time you use one of those Lancet, it costs $1. They get $1. And then secondly, they're getting you to use more insulin and more metformin and whatever, because all they want to do is manage diabetes. Anyways, I don't want to get too uptight about it. If you feel more comfortable taking your blood sugars every 5 minutes, well, go ahead. I just don't like it, okay? I tell people, how do you feel? Well, I feel pretty good. Well, I said, quit taking your blood sugars every 5 minutes. Where did you get that from? I was told to do that. Yeah, well, it's not always the best thing. Just gets you uptight for nothing. It's like you people who have a blood pressure machine at home, and you're taking your blood pressure every stinking 5 minutes. Why are you doing that? No wonder your blood pressure is going up. If I had to take my blood pressure every 5 minutes, my blood pressure would go up. You see, my blood pressure is going up now just talking about it. No, but seriously, guys, where do you get that? Oh, I got it. I took my blood pressure. I get little old ladies, I took my blood pressure I said, stop doing that. You're making yourself feel bad. I'm always in trouble. I always get into trouble. That's my opinion, okay? Somebody asking, Cheryl was asking about hypoglycemia. Well, look, your body will do everything it can to keep your blood sugars regulated between, a certain level and between your blood sugar. You got 3 things that will keep your blood sugar down. One of them is insulin, and one hormone that will try and elevate your blood sugar. And there's always a balance between the two. If you're hypoglycemic, I think, Cheryl, what you were asking is whether you can fix it. You can fix hypoglycemia. If you have hypo or hyperglycemia, you're a carbaholic. So quit eating carbs. Get on the reset. And if you're low blood sugar, well, don't fast until you fix it. A lot of people who were hypoglycemic could never fast before. Once they do the reset, they're able to fast after that. Okay, I think I got everybody's question. Guys, thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. Love you dearly. If you have any more questions, send them in. Let me just see here. Okay.